When people hear the word Crusader, they think of knights, swords, and wars. That's not what this podcast is about. As Christians, we're in a battle every single day, but it's not against people. It's a spiritual battle. Today, I want to tell you what it really means to be a crusader for Christ and why I started this podcast. So I wanted to talk a little bit about why I started this podcast and my thought process behind the naming the Crusader podcast. A lot of us tend to think of the crusades that took place in the hundreds and years ago, and what took place with fighting endless wars and fighting against other faith groups, shall I say. But if you look at the world now, we're continuously under attack. Christians are again, which I mean, it's always been that way, so that's nothing really new. But there's so many other weapons that we can use now, and I hate using that term, but there's so many other things we can use now. We don't have to pick up a shield. We don't have to pick up a sword. We don't have to, go to the battle and fight till the death the way they did, years and years ago. We get opportunities like this where we're on social media or we're on YouTube or, whatever, and we get to talk to other people. We get to reach out to the audience. We get to share the gospel of Jesus Christ with others, and we don't have to pick up a sword to do it. We get to use our words. We get to talk with other people. We get to share the gospel with people that may not have heard it before, or even with those that have. One of the things I want to do with starting this podcast, and it wasn't because everybody and their brother has a YouTube channel now and everybody's trying to get YouTube famous and make a bunch of money, but it was YouTube is a great platform for reaching a large amount of people, and so is podcasting. That what I want to accomplish is to be able to reach out and share the gospel of Jesus Christ with as many people as possible. So if it comes down to it and what I'm doing here impacts one person, that's fantastic. I've already done the Lord's work in that instance. Ideally, what I want to do is reach out to as many people as possible. I want to be that guy that's relatable to others, that, we see a lot of these podcasts or a lot of these shows or whatever, and people are using big words and, saying all these things that the average ordinary person has no idea what they're talking about. It's right over their head. I want to be the average ordinary guy that has Jesus and introduces other average ordinary or what have you people to Jesus. So it's nothing to do with trying to be condescending or talk down or just trying to get rich and famous or anything like that. It's the Great Commission. I mean, it's what Jesus set us out to do, and that was to share the gospel or share His love, His grace, His mercy with other people. And that's essentially what I want to do here. I had a note here This isn't a podcast about me. It's a podcast about what God has done in the lives of ordinary people. And I want as many people as possible to hear about His goodness. And that's exactly what I want to happen, because you're going to hear throughout this podcast, you're going to hear testimonies from other people. And when I say testimonies, I don't mean how they got here to start with. I also mean testimonies that take place in their everyday life. Because I don't want anybody to be confused about, thinking once you find Jesus, once you find God, you're coming to church and all that stuff, it's all sunshine and rainbows, because it's not. The closer we get in a relationship to God, the more the enemy hates it and wants to come after us and wants to cause problems with us. And it happens. This is a little bit about what I was talking about last week with networking with other people, having other mighty men, or if you're a woman, having other mighty women of God to be there, to be in your corner that can go to bat for you. That is what we're trying to convey here, and what we want to be able to tell people is, hey, it's not enough to come to church one Sunday, get saved, and go, all right, I'm good. That's all I needed. It doesn't work that way. This way right here, I'm able to reach out to other people and hopefully help them, or help them make a change, or just be another person that's relatable to others. So, the battle, yep. Okay, all right, here we go. Why Crusader? I think I kind of explained that a little bit in the beginning there. Because we're, as the Bible says, we don't wrestle with flesh and blood. We don't. It's a spiritual battle. Crusaders or Christians are at battle each and every day with dark spirits, with sin, with all kind of things coming at them, worldly things, and they have to be ever vigilant. They have to be crusaders for Christ. They have to get away from those things that cause issues in their life. So a mission statement I'd put down was, a crusader is someone who courageously stands for Christ and proclaims the gospel, because we are in a spiritual battle. Let's see. What does a crusader look like? Crusader loves people. Crusader speaks truth. A crusader serves others. Crusader forgives. A crusader shares Christ. A crusader lives differently. And a crusader trusts God. All those things are going to be things that we touch base on in one form of another. I know I said last week I was hoping to have a guest on this week. That didn't happen. That's okay, though. Sometimes when things don't work out exactly the way we plan, something that a lot of folks don't really understand is, we as humans, we require, because we're still in our flesh, we require things like instant gratification. We want this to happen when we want it. We want this to happen exactly the way we want it. And sometimes we try and do that without God's help. So something I realized when I wasn't able to film with someone that I was wanting to is, in that moment, exactly like what I was talking about last week, Zach is trying to use his will to make something happen, and I believe the Lord's trying to teach Zach a little humility on that, if I may. trying to say, hey, this is on my will, my time, not Zach's time. So that it didn't exactly work out the way Zach wanted it, and I hate talking about myself in the third person, but there I go. We're going to have a lot of people on. There's going to be something I realized. There's probably going to be a lot more episodes just me and the camera, which is it's cool. I'm getting a little more comfortable with it. I was a bit nervous at first about doing it, but I'm getting a little bit better with it, and it's fun because there's always something that we can say to share the gospel of Jesus, right? So it gave me the opportunity to do this time to tell you a little bit about why the Crusader podcast, why I started it, and what my mission is, what I'm trying to accomplish. So we're going to have some great people on. The guest list keeps getting larger. We may have some topics that we discuss with multiple people. Right now I've got a lot of topics set out specifically for some of the people that are going to be on, which should be really great. But we talked with Pastor Kenny a couple weeks ago about evangelism and calling. I thought it was a really great episode, and we got to laugh and cut up and have a little bit of fun and, talk about different ways we can evangelize with other people. And to me, I thought it was really great. So far, it's been one of the best episodes we've had so far. So hopefully, and please don't just come and watch just for whoever the guest is. Sometimes I have some interesting things to say too. So please try and be here for that if you can. So we talked with Pastor Kenny the other week about evangelism. One of the things we're going to talk about is fatherhood. So this goes along with the discussion last week about being a mighty man of God. What does it look like to have struggles in fatherhood? What does it look like when there's been instances where you feel like you failed, or how to correct that or how to come back from that? We'll of course talk about recovery because that's part of my story. Really great episode. It's going to be good. It's going to be about forgiveness and resentment, and I really hope to have that one pretty soon because I think that's going to be a really good one, especially to come about when it comes to some of the things I've talked about recently with being a good steward of loving your neighbor. Things we can do because we can easily get upset with somebody in the church, and the next thing you know, you're mad at them for the next 6 months. I want to talk about how to overcome that and get around it. Humility, that's going to be an awesome one. That's a little lesson I'm getting right now. It's humility. So that's going to be a really cool one and with the person that I'm going to have on for that because they're pretty interesting. But anytime that, what is it saying we used to have in recovery? Ego is not my amigo. So any opportunity we get to work on humility, and of course humility leads to fear of the Lord, which will be something else we'll talk about at some point in time, probably with multiple guests. That's a pretty powerful thing. Another really cool one, and I've had this particular guest ask me multiple times, when are we going to do this thing? We're going to talk about being kingdom-minded, staying kingdom-minded. That's going to be a really fun episode, and hopefully that'll be something that a lot of people enjoy. We'll talk about the love of God. I would say with that one, that's going to be an interesting one because it'll be a lot about continuously rejoicing in the Lord. No matter what you're doing, no matter where you're going, no matter what's going on, you're constantly rejoicing in the Lord. And the guest I have picked out for that one is going to be pretty fun. I'm trying not to say too much because I don't want to give too much away because I know some people are going to go, well, I know who that's about. I know who. So I'm trying not to give too much away, but that should be a pretty fun one too. We'll talk about spiritual warfare. Like I said earlier, we're constantly under attack. We're constantly in a spiritual battle. We're going to talk a lot about that. And also, a guest that I'll have on, we'll talk a little bit about this with. That particular guest, we'll talk about obedience and conviction also. So that should be really good, because that's going to be a topic that hopefully is not going to rub people the wrong way, but I feel that it may. And anything I do with this, my intention is not to specifically correct people the way I think they should be corrected. It's not going to be to shame people or anything like that, but we will talk a lot about what the Bible says and convictions that certain people have about the literal word of what's being said in that particular scripture. So it's not going to be to browbeat anyone or shame anyone, or we all have different convictions about different things. So we will look into some of those things, because I've got certain convictions, and I know several other folks do. So we'll look into that and kind of check that out a little bit. One of the things I kind of wanted to touch on throughout this process, and talking with people and getting other people's opinions or other people's theology or so forth, was number one, I like to ask questions. I like to know what's going on in other people's head. We had a young man preach Sunday morning, and he was basically talking about the same thing that I have a tendency to say sometimes. If you come in here and you sit down on your butt in the church and you listen to a pastor because it's that pastor preaching, and then you go home and you're not a doer, you're just a listener, and it's just for one person, you're not learning anything. So I like to be able to get with other people, because I want to know more. I want to get that closer relationship with God. I don't want to just come in here and sit, and in case you couldn't tell, I apologize I didn't mention earlier, I am in the sanctuary of our church. But if you're just coming in here and just to listen to one pastor, and you don't research what it is they're talking about, you don't listen to other pastors talking about it, you don't ask questions, you just take it on the nose for what it is, and you're not researching, you're not getting in the Word and studying, you're making a huge mistake. Just listening to one person, I'm going to tell you, you ain't going to get it by osmosis. It's not going to happen. I know there's another way of saying that I used to hear all the time, but I'm not going to use that terminology. But you're not just going to sit in here and just get it. It's not going to happen. You have to be a doer. You have to study. You have to research. You can't just blindly follow. That's not going to work. So I want to be able to talk to other people, because I'm just super inquisitive. And hopefully me talking to other people, getting other people's points on different things, hopefully will help you guys. And that's the intention, is to help other people, because there's going to be a lot of people that are new to Christ or are dabbling in it, trying to figure out what is God all about, who is this Jesus guy. I want to have the questions, and I want to have the answers that are the questions that they would ask, and the answers that are simple for them to understand, without all the big words and the all those ology words that people like to use. So and all those isms and whatnot. I want to have it where people can understand it clearly without having to try and learn a different language or go to college to understand it. So one of the missions, like I was saying earlier, helping people to see the goodness of God and encouraging believers to courageously stand for God. That's what a Crusader does. Courageously stands for God. Not going to back down. They're going to hear things, people talking about different things and Big Bang and, organisms come from fish or whatever, all that nonsense. You're going to hear it and you're just going to be, I already know the truth. I already know. I don't need to hear a bunch of nonsense or a bunch of this, that, and the other thing to know I'm right. To know, let me rephrase that. Not to say, I don't want to say I'm right because I don't want to sound like, well, I am right. But I don't want to make it sound like I'm big-headed and, I'm right, you're wrong. I don't want it to sound like that. I know the truth. That goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Crusader speaks truth. So I only want to be able to speak truth. And you can only speak truth when you know the truth. So I have a challenge. Hopefully you will take it. If you don't, that's okay. But I hope that you will. With everything that I've talked about today, what I want to progress throughout this podcast, what my mission is, the things I'm trying to accomplish. I have a challenge, and I'm not going to give you homework all the time, but I do have this challenge. And it's, if we are truly in a spiritual battle, what kind of soldier for Christ are we becoming? Are you a crusader? Are you a sit on the pew Sunday morning and listen? Are you a doer? You not just talk the talk, but you walk the walk? Do you really stand up for Christ when it's time? Are you a crusader? I'm gonna leave you with this. I think this is going to be my closing. I'm still trying to piece things together. This whole thing is still so new, and I'm trying to figure out, because I don't want it to just be one of those things where, you see a lot of these things and they have this huge production value and all these great things and these clips on the screen and all this stuff. I want this to be interesting. I want it to be something that somebody looks back at later on and goes, huh, that conversation they were having, they had a really good point. Or when people ask, what's the Crusader podcast about? I point them to this episode and say, this is the mission, this was what I was trying to accomplish with this. Because all in all, our greatest mission should be telling the world, telling those out there about Jesus Christ. So I'm still trying to put this stuff together. It's not going to be perfect. There's things that have changed since episode 1. Hopefully it's getting better. But not to mention the fact I've got more notes now than I did last time. So I don't want it to ever become one of those things where I read off a script. I want it to always be organic. But I do have a tendency sometimes, and I've already done it multiple times, if I don't stay somewhat connected to my notes, I will get distracted easily and chase a pack of squirrels over there in the corner, just because of the fact that I can get off on tangents and go all over the place. I want this to be as organic as possible. With the guests, I will let them know what we're discussing. Most of them, for the most part, know what we're discussing. I do at least want them to know that, but I don't want anything scripted. I don't want us to discuss it beforehand. I know one of the things we'll talk about. It's going to be interesting when we do talk about it. This is one he likes to, get on to me about a lot. But when we talk about a specific topic with one of our guests that we'll have later on, we do talk about it a lot. So we do have a tendency to talk about it. But if we can, should I say, come clean, or if we can have like a legit conversation about it in front of other people to let them know exactly where we're at and what we're talking about. That's kind of how all that's going to come together. But I do let the guests know what some of the guests know. For the most part, the guests are going to know what we're discussing, what topic we're looking at, just so they know. But we're not like putting anything together. There's not going to be any scripts. It's always going to be organic, because I don't like scripted stuff. It just, this isn't a movie. This isn't a TV show. It's just me talking to the camera or me and somebody else having a conversation. So that's what it's going to be. It's not going to be something that we put together and try and make look organic, because that looks fake. It's going to be legit organic. The questions, the conversation is going to be organic. That's what I want. And I think that translates better to other people that are trying to watch. So I know it's been a little bit shorter episode. I want to thank everybody for being here. Thank everyone for the support I've been getting, and for staying with me. I know it's a rough start. It's always a rough start doing some of this stuff. I'm going to keep sticking with it because it's what the Lord has me doing right now. So this is what I'm going to do until one day he says, all right, well, let's do something different. So this is what we're going to do. Hopefully the people that need it find it. I greatly appreciate everyone being here. Thanks so much. And remember, we're in a spiritual battle. Stand firm in Christ, proclaim the gospel, and never forget the goodness of God. We'll see you next time on the Crusader podcast.